Okay, we should be live. Now, well, what can I say? Welcome back to another episode of Let's try to finish reviewing Natura Morta by Folkstone. More than reviewing is about commenting it and explaining it. And we are almost there because Brindo Otra Vez is the 15th track of the album Natura Morta by Folkstone. Now, we are almost at the end because the next episode and the next commentary of the track will be the last one. In fact, l'ultima Thule finishes the album, is the last track of Natura Morta. But before that, we have Brindo Otra Vez, and you might say, but Silvia, usually you talk about songs in Italian, which is a very fair point, but this one is in Spanish. True. Brindo Otra Vez is in Spanish, but what you might not know, well, actually, if you are a fan of Folkstone, chances are you know, but for everyone who's watching this without being a fan or knowing Folkstone, Brindo Otra Vez is a cover in Spanish of another song from another album by Folkstone. Because Folkstone released, of course, other albums, and in one of them titled Damnati ad Metalla, which is, we could say, an album based a bit on folklore longobardo, so Lombardia, the region where Milan is historically is related to the population of the Longobards, and Damnati ad Metalla has several references, and in fact, Un'altra volta ancora, which is the title in Italian, of the Italian version, is the lyrics and the title are very much Viking drinking sort of situation. So Brindo Otra Vez is nothing but a cover in Spanish. The lyrics are pretty much the same. The meaning is absolutely the same. And I don't know why it ended up in Natura Morta as well. Probably because in Damnati ad Metalla there is a little bit this happiness in sadness sort of vibe, because let's remember that one of the points of the whole album, like the common thread of the album, is pretty much this idea of everything is going to shit, but even when everything is going to shit, there are nice and good things that we can focus on. And Brindo Otra Vez, or Un'altra volta ancora, has a bit this vibe. Basically, it's like if, despite everything going to shit, we go and we drink our guts off as you should know. Drink responsibly. Anyway, so Brindo Otra Vez, Un'altra volta ancora. What's the difference in the title? Well, not much. The idea is the same. Un'altra volta ancora refers to the chorus in Italian. Brindo Otra Vez refers the chorus in Spanish. Simple as, because the chorus in Italian starts with Brindo un'altra volta ancora, which means I toast one more time. In fact, un'altra volta ancora means one more time, while the Spanish version is Brindo otra vez ahora, which is I toast again now. So, as you might notice, the concept is pretty much the same. And we'll see that the concept pretty much of the song is the same. So, even if everything is going to shit, we toast and we celebrate. Sort of like we'll try to do the best with what we can. So, let's see, however, the lyrics at this point. So, we start with an intro. as usual, when we have songs in several languages, we saw it, for example, for Annalisa, because Annalisa made one of her songs in Italian, Spanish, and French. So, as usual, when we have several languages to compare, we have the lyrics in Italian with the translation, we have the lyrics in the other languages, in this case, the other language, Spanish, with the translation. Friendly reminder, I am not the one who wrote the Spanish version, okay? The Spanish version is the lyrics of the song. I do not speak Spanish, disclaimer. So of course I am kinda able to read it. So my pronunciation is not the best. First disclaimer. Second disclaimer is the translation is what it is. And also, if there are mistakes in the Spanish, it's not my fault because this is just the lyrics in Spanish of the song in Spanish. So I do what I can. Anyway, so we start with the Italian. The Italian is in green, and then we go to Spanish, which is in red. So, in the Italian version, pive in spalla attendono, bagpipes on the shoulders await. Pive is a word in Italian that I don't know where dialect ends and Italian starts, but it's not very used, okay? It's just used in some more in some idiomatic expressions, for example, con le pive nel sacco, but generally is not that used. I think we use it more in the Northwest, so it's more related to our dialects, but I can't guarantee. In this context means bagpipes, which of course Folkstone also use. So. Ed I tamburi incalzano, and the drums press. Fremon corni vuoti e empty horns tremble. How is the Spanish version? Pretty much the same. Gaitas listas para sonar, bagpipes ready to play, so pretty much same point. Y el tambor retumbara. So, and the drum resounds. We can put it like that. I will explain more as soon as I finish. Tiemblan cuernos rotos e. Broken horns tremble he. As you might have noticed, pretty much the point is the same. So, we have the setting of a pub sort of situation, somewhere where you go to drink a tavern, if we want to be more medieval. We have people ready to play the bagpipes. In Italian is on shoulders await, so they await to be played. In Spanish is more direct, so ready to play. The drum press, the drum sounds, so basically they are drumming. And then we have the horns. In Italian they are empty, in Spanish they are broken. I don't know why. So, in Italian we have incalzare, incalzano, which is a peculiar verb because in Italian is not that used, okay? We are talking about a level B2 to C something, I would say, because incalzare is mainly used in formal, but not even formal, it is more like in novels, in poetry, because incalzare means to chase. It is usually the idea that gives is someone running after someone else. So in this case, we are talking about the drums pressing as in when you drum fast, okay? So with a rhythm quite fast. And I think they try to give the same idea in Spanish, where basically it is resound also like in Spanish, I guess due to rhythm reasons, the drum is singular, while in Italian is plural. And they try to give the same idea of keep drumming fast on the drums. And then we have fremon, which is a truncation of fremono from the verb fremere. Usually it is a verb that you would use more for people, because fremere would mean to quiver, okay? As in to tremble, to shake, but as a person would do. With object, it is used in some idiomatic expressions like I don't know, with leaves, but generally you would say tremare come una foglia, so to tremble like a leaf. So fremere also is not exactly to tremble. It is the best translation I can give is to quiver, because you can also fremere of excitement. Is not a shake, a tremble that you have for negative emotions only. Usually you tremble when you are scared, right? Or when you are cold. Here is because you are about to start a party, so like you can't wait, sort of situation. Also, here the horns could be the horn, like sort of a Viking vibe, where you put the beer, the mead, whatever alcoholic substances you want to put, to drink. Okay, so instead of a jug, of a mug, you have the big horns, right? But the horn is also the one you can blow, right? So it could be a reference to the vibration of the sound when you blow the horn, but it could also be, how can I say, they quiver because the person having them in their hands, like holding them, is quivering as well because they can't wait to start feasting, okay? And pretty much the same concept in Spanish as well. Then we have the second part of the intro. Botti pronte da assaltar, barrels ready to be attacked durante il rozzo desinar, during the rough dinner. E il banchetto fodeco, it's the feast of fools. Then we have the Spanish, which is pretty much the same. Asaltemos el barril, let's attack the barrel, durante el festín que habrá, during the feast that will take place. Es un puto banquete de locos. It's a fucking banquet of crazy people. Again, also in Spanish, the idea is pretty much the same, because we have the idea of a bunch of crazy people who are about to feast. We have the barrels of beer, of course, that are ready to be sieged, to be attacked, because they are ready to be opened. We have this feast, this party, but not like nice and whatnot. No. We are talking about a tavern party, okay? And in fact, both in Italian and in Spanish, we have il banchetto or el banquete, which is the banquet, but as in the feast, okay? Then we have assaltare and desinar, which are both truncation of assaltare and desinare. Assaltare is like also to assault, to attack, sort of situation. Like you're about to launch yourself on the beer in this case. And desinare, it is another verb that is that you can find quite rarely. I don't think anybody uses it in spoken Italian, because you mainly find it in literature, novels, poetry, and whatnot. It's the classic example of poetry terms used in metal songs, because they often go hand in hand. Now, desinare is a more Aulic term, synonym of cenare. And in fact has pretty much the same root of to dine, okay, as you have it in English as well. And in fact, desinare, just like cenare, means to have dinner. Now, the rough dinner, so rozzo desinar, rozzo as in, as I explained, we are talking not about a nice party with refined people. No, here is rozzo as in the opposite of polite, refined, elegant, because we are at a tavern and we are about to feast on meat and beer. This is the sort of situation. Very Viking-like, if you want to see it like that. And then we have faux déco. And if you're like, oh my god, I study Italian and I never heard of it, or like if you are Italian and you never heard of it, don't worry. I was like, what the fuck is that the first time I heard of it? Because this is actually a way of saying typical of the dialetto bergamasco, which is the dialect spoken around Bergamo, in Lombardy, which is the dialect of the Folkstone, because the Folkstone pretty much come from around there. And what does it mean? It means fuori di testa, like the Italian translation would be fuori di testa, faux déco, which means out of mind. That's why I translated it as it's the feast of the fools, because it would be it's the feast of the people out of mind, so of the crazy. And in fact, in Spanish, we have un banquete de locos, so a banquet, a feast of crazy people. Just to give you an idea of the environment of this beautiful party. It is very Viking-like as vibes. And then we have the first verse. Vino e spezie a riscaldar, wine and spices to warm up. L'odore intenso inebria già, the intense smell is already intoxicating. La coscienza perderò, I will lose consciousness, like the consciousness I will lose. Now, pretty much in Spanish, it's the same thing. El vino y especias calenterán. The wine and spices will warm up. Su aroma no se embriaga ya. Its aroma already intoxicate us. La conciencia perdere. I will lose consciousness. The consciousness I will lose. It is exactly like in Italian. So, why wine and spices? Okay. I think it's a reference of a type of beverage that is very common in cold places. For example, I see it a lot here in the north of France during winter, for example, around Christmas, when you have le marché de Noël, and it is le vin chaud. We have something like that. We took it from like in Italy, I guess mainly in the north, because in the north is colder. We have il vin brûlé, which I guess we stole very elegantly by like from the French. And I'm saying this because usually it is a mix of wine, spices, because you need to warm up, and so you have this mix of alcohol, spices, so like it is spicy, okay? It is common, fun fact, also in tisanes, so you also can have like, you can also brew warm beverages, alcohol free, but you add the spices, so like it is spicy because it needs to warm you up, and it is warm, you drink it warm. It is a healthier version of the hot chocolate, if you don't count, of course, the alcoholic, otherwise we are on the same level. And in fact, riscaldar, it means to warm up, and it is the truncated form of the verb riscaldare. And in fact, due to this mix of having wine mixed with spices and boiled, like if not boiled, brought to high temperature, you can really smell in the air this very strong smell, because you smell the wine, usually you use the red wine, you smell the spices, and by everything be warmed up, mainly if you are in a closed environment like a tavern, it's like you're gone. Like you get drunk just by smelling that. And in fact, we have both in Italian and in Spanish these reference to this very intense aroma which intoxicate. In Italian, they are using the more aulic version, inebriare, okay? While in Spanish, directly embriaga, which is funny because we have ubriacare as verb in Italian, which is exactly like embriagar in Spanish. But they decided to go like straight for the getting drunk in Spanish while being a little bit more elegant in Italian. Also, keep in mind that the Italian version came before, so probably you might consider the Spanish version the level up, so the improved version. In my opinion, in some parts it is, and I will explain why. And then, like, since we are very moderated people, the narrator is like, I'm going to lose my consciousness, I'm going to pass out. Cheers. So, like, the description we are having here is like parting hard sort of situation. Then we have the second part of the verse 1. Alti, noi ora leviam. We rise high, like now, we rise high, or better, high, we now rise. What? I boccali per brindare. The mugs to toast. Birra a fiumi imbratta la taverna popolana. Rivers of beer stain the common tavern. Now, pretty much the same in Spanish as well. Vamos juntos a levantar. Let's rise together. We are going to rise together. Los jarrones para brindar. The mugs to toast. La cerveza inunda la tabernas populares. Beer fills the popular taverns. Now, as in popular, as in common, so of the people. So we are talking about the D&D tavern sort of situation, okay? Now, in Italian we have more aulic terms. For example, levare, which means to rise up. And we have two truncations, leviam instead of leviamo, and brindar instead of brindare, to toast. Now, levare as in rise up, it is used, but I would say in fixed expression. So, for example, levare gli occhi al cielo, like to eye roll, because literally in Italian you say to rise up your eyes towards the sky, not really the literal translation of eye rolling. So, what happens is that you actually use alzare gli occhi al cielo, however. So, it is used, but not that much. Yeah, like with this meaning, colloquially speaking, common language of now of every day, it's not very used. So just as usual, let's remind that metal songs often use aulic and high level words. So even if you are not familiar with them, don't worry, it's completely normal. Also because here we have a mix between like low level things like almost vulgar, dialect, high level like high register terms, so it's a roller coaster of emotions. And then we have birra fiumi, which literally means beer as if it was in rivers. So which this is commonly used because a fiumi, mainly when you're speaking about alcohol, it means that you are getting wasted. Okay, this is the mood, this is the core of the song. Now, it is funny to me because in Italian they say imbrattare, to stain. Usually imbrattare is often used with painting, so I can imagine like these people with the mugs full of beers like painting the walls of the tavern. While it's a bit weird because in Italian they say birra fiumi imbratta. In Spanish, they say la cerveza inunda, but we have inondare as well, and it would make sense because they are saying birra fiumi, rivers of beer. So, a roller coaster of emotions, this song. Then we have the chorus. As I said, brindo un'altra volta ancora. I toast one more time. La morte è qua che mi sorvola. Death is here flying over me. Brindo un'altra volta ancora. I toast one more time. Macabra è la danza, noi balliamo. Macabre is the dance, we dance. And pretty much the same as usual also in Spanish. Brindo otra vez ahora. I toast again now. La muerte viene sin demora. Death comes without delay. Brindo otra vez ahora. I toast again now. Macabra es la danza, baila ya. Macabre is the dance, dance now, which is like pretty much the same as in Italian. Now, what can I say? I think here we noticed why they decided to make this cover for this album, because we have these memento mori sort of situation, so remember that you must die. And because of that, since we know we are going to die, we are going to get wasted. 10 out of 10 pub culture. So also, again, we have a verb which is sorvolare, which in Italian literally means volare sopra, sorvolare, volare sopra, to fly above. So I have the ghost of death hovering over me, and thus I'm going to drink my guts out. And it is pretty much the same in Spanish. And in fact, we have both in Italian and in Spanish also these dance macabre, because getting wasted while dancing with the death sort of situation. So it's funny because I can't really give the idea in English, because in English you only have to dance to express the action. So in Italian and in Spanish as well, you have danza and danzare and ballare. No, actually, I don't. Yeah, I think you have it in Spanish as well. But my point is that in Italian we have the double noun and the double verb, because we have danza and ballo, and then we have danzare and ballare. So you can say e la danza balliamo or e il ballo danziamo. Of course, here it was a matter of metric, where in fact balliam is the truncated form, piano così, in this song. So we have balliam instead of balliamo, we dance. In Spanish is more of an exhortation than in Italian, but the point is pretty much that one. And then we have the the second verse, which is Lesto arriva lo special. The apothecary arrives quickly con il suo antico nettare, with its ancient nectar, è il potente antidoto. It is the powerful antidote. In Spanish, the apothecary becomes an alchemist because we have el alquimista llega ya, the alchemist comes already, con su pócima ancestral, with his ancestral potion, es un potente antidoto. It is a powerful antidote against, I don't know, sadness, unless you have the sad hangover, but hey. So, in Italian we have special instead of speziale, lo speziale or la speziale, gender neutral. It used to be that person, just like an apothecary, curing you with traditional medicine. So we are talking about that medicine curing you with mainly herbal substances, breweries, treatments, we could say. So we are talking about a medieval sort of environment, or like ancient environment, because we are talking about the vin brûlé, le vin chaud, where you have the red wine mixed with spices. So the barman, because I guess here is pretty much a barman, mixing things is like an alchemist, an apothecary sort of situation. And in fact, we have il suo antico nettare, its ancient nectar, or their ancient nectar, an ancestral potion. In Spanish, makes me laugh. And then both in Italian and in Spanish we have a powerful antidote, potente antidoto is pretty much the same, Italian with Spanish. And then we have the second part with è un delirio alcolico. I lost my thingy here, okay. Oh my god, okay, no, because I swear to God. Okay, we got this. I was saying, is it? Yeah. È un delirio alcolico. It's an alcoholic delirium. Fumose nebbie avanzano, smoky fogs advance, gente balla e dorme sui banconi appiccicati. People dance and sleep on the stuck counters. In Spanish es un delirio alcohólico, it's an alcoholic delirium, el humo se desplaza, the smoke moves, la gente baila y duerme sobre barras pegajosas. Now, people dance and sleep on sticky counters. The reason why I think they made an upgrade is because they made a little mistake in the Italian version. Because in the last line, in Italian, they say gente balla e dorme, people dance and sleep, sui banconi appiccicati. Now, appiccicati in Italian means to be stuck, to be glued. Something appiccicato is something stuck or glued to something else. While what I think they wanted to say is appiccicosi, which is exactly the same that you have in Spanish, which is pegajosas. In fact, in Spanish, it is sticky counters, because it refers to that condition, okay, of a tavern, or like a pub where people drink, eat, and whatnot. So of course things fall over the table, and because of the sugar containing the alcohol, because of the greasiness of food, the tables are become dirty and thus sticky. I think that anybody ever been in a pub knows what I'm talking about, and that's the point. In Italian, appiccicati didn't have much sense, but appiccicosi, pegajosas, would make sense because you have some people dancing on the table, some people sleeping on the counters, and these counters are sticky because of all the beverages and food being spilled on them. Okay. Then we have the alcoholic delirium in both Italian and Spanish, and pretty much the same idea also concerning the smoke, because at least in Italian there is an idiomatic expression which is fumi dell'alcol, which is sort of like saying the alcohol smoke, referring to that situation where alcohol raises temperature and thus evaporates, we could say. So here probably it is a reference to a typical environment in a pub. So you have an enclosed environment, you have people moving, doing things, raising up temperature, and so of course raising the temperature of the room, plus you have the alcohol per se, and then you have the other alcohol being boiled because of the mix of hot red wine and spices being prepared. So I think again, if you ever been in a pub in winter or during a cold day, I think you have in your mind this image. And then the song ends with one last chorus, which in Italian is Brindo un'altra volta ancora, la morte qua che mi sorvola, brindo un'altra volta ancora, macabra è la danza, noi balliamo. I toast one more time, that is here flying over me. I toast one more time, macabre is the dance we dance. And then again, it's the same also in Spanish. Brindo otra vez ahora, la muerte bien sin demora. Brindo otra vez ahora, macabra es la danza baila ya. Which is again, I toast again now. That comes without delay. I toast again now. Macabre is the dance. Is the dance now. And this is how the song ends. Now, what to say? Nothing much to what I have already said at the beginning, so it is pretty much a cover. There are some changes, some corrections, some improvements, if you will, from the first version, which was the Italian one, and the new cover in Spanish. The meaning overall is pretty much the same, and probably it fit well in both Damnati ad Metalla and Natura Morta because of this idea of partying despite this being a dance macabre, so a dance with death. So the positive side in a situation where everything is going to shit. So it fit well in both. Generally, this is a quite Viking feast sort of situation. We have the classic elements of a feast in a cold environment because I have to tell you, in North Italy it can become pretty cold. And of course, as I explained, Folkstone is a band coming from the north and doing, like in Damnati and Metalla, there are several references to the Longobardi, the Longobards. So we are talking about populations coming from more north, so closer to ideally what you think of a Viking, when you think of a Viking, then what you would think about a Mediterranean population like Italian population. So I know that probably when you think about Italy, you have you think more about the south, but also the north exists, and we kept many, how can I say, many traditions or many like some folklore related to northern population that came down when the Roman Empire. So this is a good example. We have a band coming from Lombardy. We could say Bergamo, but generally Lombardy. There are other references in, for example, Damnati ad Metalla, but probably there are also other references in other songs, other albums. We could count also Appennino from this album, but this was more like Viking-like northern populations like, and it is pretty much the like I'm saying Vikings because in the common folklore idea of the party with the feast with a lot of mead where it's cold and you drink like no tomorrow, a lot of beer, warm beer, typical of more northern population. For example, also the Saxons used to. Okay, I don't know if it was the Saxons exactly, but populations living in what now is the United Kingdom, because many people think, beer equal cold, as in you drink the beer cold. No, actually, originally it used to be warm. Same with wine. Everyone thinks, the wine in the bottle, we keep it in the fridge, and yes. Generally, yes, it is like that, but we still keep culturally some of these more ancient traditions where you drink warm alcohol. Again, il vin brûlé in northern Italy, I can guarantee for the south because I never saw it, me specifically, because I'm not from the south, so I don't know. I'm saying from the north because I can guarantee for the north. And also from in other countries, for example, France also kept this idea of the warm alcoholic beverages. For example, le vin chaud, which I see often during le marché de Noël around Christmas. So that was a little bit the idea. That was everything I had to say about the 15th and almost last track of Natura Morta by Folkstone, Brindo Otra Vez, cover of Un'altra volta ancora by the other album Damnati ad Metalla. Next time it's going to be the last track, the 16th, and so we are going to close the album Natura Morta by Folkstone. That said, I hope you enjoyed. Grazie everyone for watching and arrivederci.